as obedience, I think there are things we can learn from Donald Trump as regards the last presidential election of the US that he won. Now, this has nothing to do with whether you love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump. Whether you hate him or you love him, whether you agree with his policies or not, one thing that you cannot disagree with is that this man won a historic election. This man won an election against all odds. He won an election where people thought it was impossible. So having done that, I think there are things that he did that we can actually learn from. So, and I would like us to get into that. Number one, this man had a very strong fighting spirit. Donald Trump fought very vigorously. This man had 2 assassination attempts, yet none of them deterred him. He stood his ground, and when he was shot at, the first thing that he did was raise his hand and say, fight, fight, fight. That shows you the kind of spirit that he entered that race with. He entered that race with a fighting spirit. What of the lawsuits that were against him? He had several lawsuits, yet they didn't deter him. He still stood his ground and he was fighting on. What of the media? The whole media seemed to be against him. They all were reporting everything negative about him. Smallest mistake he could make, the media would magnify it. And it was as if the whole media, they were all very obsessed with him, to the extent that his followers called the media, they said they had what they called Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. So, but even in the midst of all these things, this man was never deterred. This man stood his ground, and this man fought to the end. So having said that, so as obedience, I think this is something that we'll have to learn from him. This is something that we'll have to look at and then imbibe even as we go into 2027. Yes, we complain about how INEC is corrupt and how the system is already rigged. Yes, I know. If you look at Donald Trump, it seemed as if everything was already done. In fact, after the 2020 election, it was as if his political career was dead. But you could see how this man fought back. So in the same way, it looks as if the whole system, it rigged against us. But however, we have to also put up a strong fight. So I encourage us as we go into 2027, this fighting spirit is something that we must bring on. So that is my number 1 point. If I go to number 2, please, if you are getting value from this video, I beg you, please subscribe to our channel and please share. Yes, I am begging you. Please, I need your subscription. Subscribe to our channel and also share this video. Thank you so much, and God bless you as you do that. Then secondly, this man built a very large coalition. Yes, Donald Trump was able to build a coalition from other parties. People like Tulsi Gabbard, people like Elon Musk, people like R.F. Kennedy. Now, these people were Democrats before. They were not even Republicans. Now, it does not mean that they all agreed on every policy. No, they still had their differences, but they all had some common grounds, so they were able to work together. So in the same vein as Obidients, going to 2027, it is good that we also expand our support base. Now, I see some Obidients say, we can't work with this person, we can't work with this person. Sometimes I look at that thing as if, as being politically naive. Now, unless the person is a non-criminal or a terrorist, if it is just because we disagree with the person on some political ideologies or some views on issues, please, I don't think those things are enough for us to say that we will not work with anybody. Like I said again, unless that person is a criminal or is a terrorist, yes, we shouldn't work with such people. But if it is just because the person was in APC before, the person is in PDP, and the person was criticizing Obi before, and all those things now he has changed. No. If I tell you, Donald Trump's vice president was one of his greatest critics. J.D. Vance so much criticized Donald Trump in 2016, but today, He's his vice president. So this thing of warriors, remember, this person didn't support us before, this person was like this before, this person was like that before, and this person will always be bringing up. No, see, in politics, we should learn that there is always sometimes our interests clashes, and sometimes our interests can come together. So we have to build a strong support base. That is my number two. Then number three, Donald Trump prepared heavily. Yes, the RNC, that is the Republican Party. They prepared like never before. In fact, I followed that election and I was so marveled by the level of preparation that they had. The Lara Trump, who is the co-chair of RNC, she tweeted that they had 500 lawyers in every of the 7 battleground states. 500 lawyers in every 7 battleground states. You are talking about 3,500 lawyers just for 7 states on election day. Now, they had a strategy. Their strategy is to prevent fraud. They did not want to start going to court when an opponent has been announced. No, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to deal with the issue of fraud, the issue of whatever they notice is election fraud on the ground. So they didn't want, after they say, okay, they've announced the winner, maybe his opponent, and then they start going to court. No, they wanted to deal with whatever case they may have on ground and sort it out immediately. In fact, they had their goal that they called it too big to rig. So they had a plan. Their plan was to make the election massive and to prevent rigging by all means. So in the same way, I think this is something that we can learn from as Obidients. I know that the polling agents in Nigeria, you can have 1 polling agent for every polling unit, but I don't think there's any law that says we can have 2, we can have 3, we can have as much as we can. And again, at the ward, local government and state collation centers, where a lot of manipulations happen, we have to plan on how do we mitigate that? How do we make sure that at ward, at local government, and at state levels, that we mitigate against whatever fraud that we will find, that we don't allow it to announce and then we'll start going to court. No. That going to court is something that we must avoid. In 2027, we have to plan to ensure that we mitigate against every fraud on the election day, from the polling unit to the ward collection centers, to the local government collection centers, and of course, to the state and the national collection centers. I don't have much issue at the national collection centers because it is whatever they bring there, they announce. But at the state, at the local government, at the ward, and then at the polling units, we make sure we guide and guard those places very, very well, just like they did, like Trump did in his own election. So these are the things that I think we can learn that will help us in 2027. Thank you so much, and God bless you. And before I go, please, if you are getting value from this video, I'm begging you, kindly subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel and share. Thank you once again. God bless you.